He walked in, shut the door, and never came out. We were just two broke college kids on a road trip. Took a random detour through a small town we'd never heard of. By the time we found a place to sleep, it was almost midnight. The hotel was old, like out of a horror movie old, but it was cheap, and we were tired. The receptionist looked like he hadn't blinked in years. He slid us the key and said one weird thing: "Don't look into the mirror after midnight in room 209. We laughed, thought he was trying to scare tourists. That's exactly the kind of thing we'd joke about later. But now, when I look back, that was the last normal moment of my life. We got to the room. It was dusty, had this musty smell. TV didn't work. Lights flickered, but we didn't care. We were just glad to crash. At exactly 12:04 a.m., my friend stood up and said, "I'm going to use the bathroom." He walked in, shut the door, and never came out. No sound, no flush, nothing. I knocked. I called his name. Nothing. I opened the door. He was gone. No window, no other exit, just the mirror, still foggy, like someone had just breathed on it. I wiped it clean and saw something written from the inside. Just 2 words: "Help me." I called the police. They searched the room, the hotel, the area, but there was no record of us even checking in. Room 209 was supposed to be under renovation, empty, locked, abandoned. That was 3 years ago. Yesterday, I got a voicemail. It was his voice, whispering, "Don't come back." He watches the mirror. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in that hotel room, staring at the mirror, waiting for something, but nothing happened. Just the heavy silence, the smell of mildew, and the feeling that something was breathing down my neck every time I looked away from the glass. When the sun finally came up, I ran to the front desk, but there was no receptionist, just an old man in the lobby, sweeping slowly. I asked him, panicked, "Where's the guy who checked us in last night?" He looked up at me with blank eyes and said, "This hotel hasn't had a receptionist for years, son. Not since the fire." I asked what fire. He pointed to a newspaper clipping framed on the wall. Room 209. 2 burned alive in mirror ritual gone wrong. Dated 1992. I could barely breathe. I looked at the clipping. There was a picture. One of the faces looked like the man who gave us the key. Same dead stare, same uniform. He was already dead when he checked us in. My legs gave out. I sat there on the cold tile floor, trying to make sense of anything. It was like we had stepped into some time pocket, some place the world forgot, or tried to. And yet, my friend was still missing, gone, like he was never there. No ID, no record of booking, not even a security camera outside. Everything we had, our bags, his phone, his wallet, disappeared. I left. I didn't even check out. I took a bus back to the city in silence, and I never told anyone the full story. I just said we got separated on the trip, filed a missing persons report. Weeks passed, then months, until that voicemail came. His voice. Don't come back. He watches the mirror. I replayed it 100 times. Same static, same whisper, same warning. I broke. I needed answers. So I went back. When I arrived, the hotel looked even more abandoned than before. Shutters hung loose. Paint peeled off the walls like skin. The open sign was missing, and the lobby was dark. But the door wasn't locked. The moment I stepped in, I smelled it again. That mixture of dust, wet wood, and old smoke. I passed the front desk, now completely empty. No bell, no logbook, just silence. Room 209 was at the end of a long hallway. The lights flickered above me as I walked. Each step felt like I was dragging my soul closer to something unnatural. When I reached the door, it was already open. I pushed it gently. Everything looked the same as I remembered. The bed, the cracked wallpaper, the faded carpet, and the mirror. This time, it wasn't foggy. It was clear. Too clear. Like it didn't reflect my image. It swallowed it. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then something moved. Not behind me. Inside the mirror. I turned around. The room was empty. But in the glass, I saw him. My friend. Standing behind me. I whipped around again. Nothing. Back to the mirror. He was closer. His mouth was open like he was screaming, but no sound came out. Just his eyes, wide, terrified, pleading. Then another figure appeared behind him, tall, shadowed, faceless. It placed a hand on my friend's shoulder. He went still, and then his image disappeared. Gone. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe I was desperate. Maybe I thought I could reach him. But I touched the mirror, and it was cold, liquid, like touching ice that wasn't solid. My hand sank in slightly. Then I heard it. A voice, but it wasn't mine, and it wasn't his. It said, "Trade." And I yanked my hand back like it was on fire. I ran. I didn't stop until I was outside the town. That night, I looked at the mirror in my own apartment. For the first time ever, I covered it with a cloth. I started researching mirror lore, reflective surfaces as portals, spirits trapped in glass, ancient rituals, all the weird stuff. I learned that mirrors were once believed to be gateways between worlds, and in some occult traditions, a person can be trapped inside if a ritual goes wrong. Room 209 wasn't haunted. It was a trap, a door, and my friend was still behind it. Some nights, I hear tapping on my apartment mirror, very faint. Once, I saw fog appear on the glass, even though my room was cold. And last week, I got another voicemail. Only this time, it wasn't his voice. It was something else, a low, guttural growl, like 100 voices speaking in unison. In one word, soon. I didn't sleep for days after that second voicemail. Soon, it said. That word looped in my head like a curse. I tried ignoring it, blocking the number, even breaking the SIM, but it kept coming. Different numbers, same voice, same word. I started seeing reflections where there shouldn't be any, in puddles, elevator doors, even my laptop screen when it went black. Always the same, a glimpse of my friend, mouth wide open, eyes full of terror. And then that thing behind him, watching, waiting. I knew it was time. If I didn't do something, it was going to take me next, or worse, take someone else through me. So I did the only thing I could think of. I went to an old paranormal investigator I found through a friend of a friend, a retired guy named Arun who lived alone, surrounded by books and mirrors, all covered with cloth. He listened without interrupting, then said, "You made contact with a mirror trap, a vessel. Those don't just hold spirits. They demand balance." "Balance?" I asked. He nodded grimly. "A soul for a soul." My heart dropped. I asked if I could get my friend out. His answer? Only by going in. I didn't know whether to cry or scream, but I had already decided. I asked how. Arun gave me a ritual, a simple one, he said. Just candles, a chant, and absolute silence. "And if I mess it up?" I asked. He didn't answer. That night, I returned to the hotel one last time. I brought everything I needed. The ritual, the candles, and the voicemail recordings. I found room 209 boarded up now. Someone had tried to seal it, but the boards came off easily, like something wanted me in. Inside, everything was exactly the same, like the room hadn't aged a single day. The mirror stood at the far end, clean, still, hungry. I placed the candles around it in a circle, lit them, and started the chant. The moment I finished the final syllable, the air went still, and the mirror rippled like a pond disturbed by a single drop. Then it pulled me in. I don't remember falling. It was more like sliding through cold syrup. Then I landed hard, somewhere that looked like room 209, but reversed. Everything was backwards. Furniture, writing, even the time on the clock ticked counterclockwise. It was dim and freezing. I called out for my friend. At first, nothing. Then I heard it, a whisper, not from the room, from inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the plaster, and I swear I heard hundreds of voices whispering my name, like a chant. Then I saw him, in the mirror, or what looked like a mirror. Only now, I was the reflection. He stood on the other side, pale, shivering, eyes sunken deep. He mouthed something. "Don't." But I reached out, and suddenly I was inside the glass. This place, it wasn't a room. It was a maze. Mirrors in every direction, endless reflections of myself. But not all of them moved the same way I did. Some lagged, some stared. One smiled when I didn't. I kept walking, looking for the version that had him in it. Finally, I found one. He was sitting in a corner, arms wrapped around his knees, whispering something over and over. I pressed my hand to the glass. He didn't move. I tapped. He looked up. He mouthed something again. "You shouldn't have come." Then a shadow appeared behind him, tall, bent like a man made of smoke and wire. It didn't move. It just stared at me, or through me, like I was just another version in its collection. Then it opened its mouth and it said, "Trade accepted." The world flipped. I woke up back in room 209. Same carpet, same musty smell. Only this time I wasn't alone. My friend was beside me, asleep, breathing, alive. I shook him awake. He opened his eyes, confused, scared, then hugged me tight. We left. Didn't say a word, just ran. Back in the city, we stayed silent for weeks. He never talked about what he saw inside that mirror dimension. I never asked, until I started noticing something wrong with myself. First, it was the reflections lagging again. Then the nightmares, always of mirrors shattering in reverse. And then the cracks in my skin, tiny ones. At first, I thought they were cuts. Then I looked closer. They were like fractures, like glass. I went back to Aaron. When he opened the door, he looked at me and stepped back in horror. "You didn't bring him out," he said. "What are you talking about?" I asked. He pointed at me. "You never came back. You left yourself in there." I didn't understand. But then he brought out an old hand mirror, one he had warded. He showed it to me, and I screamed, because the face looking back wasn't mine. It was his, my friend, and in the reflection, my face was trapped behind the glass, screaming. It wasn't a rescue, it was a swap. The moment I touched that glass, he left, and I took his place, the version walking around in my body now. It wasn't me. It was the thing that watched through the mirrors, and every day I feel it growing stronger. So if you ever check into a hotel and the mirror looks too clean, if you see your reflection move out of sync, don't touch it. Don't stare too long. And whatever you do, don't answer the voicemail, because it's not your friend calling. It's the mirror, and it's hungry again.